Hello and welcome along to the PPW Pod, coming to you today from a special location. We are on stage at PropTech and Portal Watch here in Bangkok. I'm joined by Simon and Harvey.
Okay.
Hello guys, how you doing?
Very well,
good,
thanks.
thank you. Great to be here.
Tired, but great.
That intro is much smoother in person, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So the name has changed. It's now PropTech and Portal Watch, but It's been running for 15 years.
Yes.
I want to start with why you've changed the name.
Because the reality is that portals or marketplaces is really a subset of PropTech, the way I think about it. And more of these marketplaces are getting into PropTech applications. Think of CRMs and so on. So bringing everything together makes a lot more sense than trying to think about them separately. And there's a lot of cross-learnings, cross-fertilization of experience, knowledge, understanding, but also, we'd like to see if we can get deals done at these conferences as well, where people are talking to other people with a view of bringing the businesses together. So that's sort of why we're doing it.
There's a lot of kind of hushed, secret conversations that you see when you look around corners at these events.
There are, and I'm aware of 3 or 4 super interesting conversations happening at the moment with just companies trying to work out how they can actually do things together in a very meaningful way, i.e. merging.
The other thing that's different about this conference is that we did a startup day the day before the conference, where we've normally done a masterclass.
Yes.
What was the startup day? Why have you chosen to do a startup day rather than a masterclass?
Well, it's all part of the ecosystem that we operate in. And as we know, companies, ideas become small companies, get a bit of funding, and grow all the way through to become the right moves and REAs of the industry. And a passion that I have, and the guys from PropTech Farm with Frederick Bergman and my colleagues at Fusion 4 Ventures, is to how do we help these startups grow, accelerate, hopefully not make the same mistakes that a lot of us have made along the way, which is always very, very good, just to fix that up, and to get them to meet each other in the ecosystem, because the view is to truly become successful, you've got to get to scale. And getting to scale, you either organically grow along the way, but that's hard, takes a lot of work, or you merge to get to scale. And once you've got to scale, you then have exit opportunities. So that's why we want to do Startup Day, which is help these companies grow and accelerate. Plus, we want to identify good investments. So It's a great way to, I think, do 2 things at once.
Yeah, some nice deal flow for you as well.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been speaking to a couple of the attendees, and the feedback has been really good for the Startup Day. I think it's going to be something that's actually going to grow. Probably by next year, it's going to be even bigger and better. So just to say that it's not just a one-time thing. I think this is something that's really going to grow, and it may even become the main draw for a lot of people coming to these conferences, actually.
I actually had that feeling, because we thought, we might get 30 or 40 out of the group. We had close, high 70s, maybe 80. And a lot of people just want to understand, how can I do this better? So I agree. It's something we're going to continue to do in these conferences, and encourage everyone to, if you're and what's interesting is it wasn't just startups in the room. We had M&A people from large companies who were there wanting to understand, how do startups think? And then maybe they can then identify opportunities from a corporate perspective.
It's not just about the startups though. We're here, we're listening to some big real estate portals, some very interesting presenters on stage. We've had the likes of REA India, we've had, we have Domain presenting straight after us here.
Yep.
There's been some really good ideas. What were some ideas that you've gone, oh actually that's a really good idea? I'll start with you, Harvey.
I just interviewed Dhruv in a room around the corner.
From real estate in REA
India.
Yep.
CEO, REA India. And to paraphrase, what he said is the industry needs to look out for the Elon Musk of real estate. Somebody who comes in and completely disrupts real estate forever and always. He says it's coming, basically. I think that was an amazing idea, and it's something that I hadn't really thought about in those terms before. The other one I want to mention is Niels from Ringier, South Africa. What would you do if you had 1 million interns? Absolutely the best question of the conference so far. It's completely changed my mind about how AI is going to shape the industry in the future. I think those 2 ideas give you a pretty good indication of where the industry is going to be going in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and it's always refreshing to sit here and listen to these guys present, because you take a moment to reflect, and we've done 38 of these conferences, and if I go back in time and think about the waves of fads that come along, we had a lot of talk at one point around the aggregators, and, are they good or bad for the industry? Then we had a lot of talk around getting closer to the transaction. We've talked about iBuyers and there's been so many themes.
Yeah, Malcolm's got those good slides, doesn't he? Of
Malcolm
everything
Myers
from 2013, every kind of buzzword topic from 2013 to today.
Yes. But what's interesting when I look back, because by looking back it helps me look forward, and I was reflecting on this, and you sort of touched on a bit there around what Niels Korber from Ringier said around, if they had 1 million interns, what he's saying is you've got AI at your fingertips, and these 1 million interns don't need to be fed, they don't complain, they just work 24 hours a day for you. And he's really saying, how can AI fundamentally change what's happening? So for me, the big thing that's coming out of this, it's forcing me to realize that there were newspapers, and then there was a mega change, and the mega change was digitization, going from print to a digital format of listings and a digital way to engage with real estate. That was the seismic change. Everything that's happened since then has not been seismic, it's not been revolutionary. At best, it's been a little evolutionary. Better pictures, better images, better ways to run your business, getting into mortgages, not getting into mortgages, all these sort of things. They're incremental improvements, none of which have fundamentally changed the business. I think the first time I'm sitting going, aha, is AI. I think AI has the potential to be that next seismic change.
Okay. You're saying potential to be the next seismic change.
Yes.
What has it got to do to push itself as a candidate for seismic change over the threshold?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. And by seismic change, I mean two things. If you look at the people who are strong in print and then the people who are now strong online, they are different groups. Yes, some of those print guys own those online assets, but they didn't build them, they bought them.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical that the current major players in online will become the next major players. Reason being is you're sitting on an established model, established customers, you can put your prices up 10 to 20% per annum, you're printing money with a strong EBITDA, and you're a household brand. To fully engage the possibility of AI and how it could change the way you search, present, engage with real estate, is a seismic change. And I don't know if they're really prepared to fully invest the way they could to do it. Now, someone else, and I don't know who, because I can't name a name because I don't know who, will actually come up with a better mousetrap. And just as REA was a slow burn at the beginning, remember REA was founded in 96, 97, 1997, right, lads, right, early.
I got a slide with it.
Right, and it was a slow burn, but it really took off, like really gained momentum probably a decade later. Okay, well, we're only 1 or 2 years into this sort of AI what could be. So there are people doing stuff out there that will just get momentum, and then it's just going to flick and go. It could be the Googles of the world, in how they are, and we heard today from Mike Vanderheiden from Portal Ventures about still 40-odd% of REA's traffic is coming from Google. But the majority of that now is long-tail searches. Well, what happens if Google takes that next step? Because the data is much better today than it was back 20 years ago when they tried to put listings on
Yeah, it's
maps.
interesting how this threat of like Google is, Google's going to come and eat your dinner has been like, the sky will fall on our heads tomorrow at these conferences for so long. And now it's like it's resurfaced again.
It will.
But there seems to be something behind it.
There's more belief this time around, I feel.
I think there is potential. Whether they will pursue it is a separate issue. Okay, But Mike was showing us today Bing Real Estate.
Yeah, Bing's done it.
Super cool idea. Now, Bing has got a tenth of the traffic of Google, but it's still 900 million searches a month. So there is something there. And I've got a feeling that this is that seismic moment, and we're just living through and we're not quite sure yet. And when we look back in 10 years, we go, aha, that was the moment.
Before we move on, what's your thoughts on the big ideas that you've seen so far? You're the presenter usually, but I'll put you on the spot.
I like Neil saying that he makes his employees do an AI day where everybody has to use AI for a day and report on it.
Yes.
To just kind of make sure that your employees are, I don't know, AI native or clued up on what tools there are out there. I thought that was good. I also liked what Georg was doing, Georg Schmiel from GUI IQI. He kind of had two halves of his presentation, and they didn't seem to be that relevant until the end when he was. So half of his presentation was about influencers and the influencer economy and whatever, and then it was about agents. And actually, agents as influencers to sell houses, I think makes a lot of sense. I thought that was a good idea, certainly.
And we've seen evidence of that in Canada with Real Estate Works.
No, REW, yeah. Real Estate.
REW.
Yep. And what's it called? Real Tours.
Real Tours.
Yeah.
Agents as influencers. So this has actually already started. That ball is rolling already.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't is listening out there doesn't know what Real Tours is think of it sort of like the Kardashians meet real estate.
Yeah.
In that they will do a 20 episode YouTube series, about 20 minutes, maybe it's half an hour per
I think
episode.
it's about 20 minutes.
And they'll do it suburb by suburb, and they'll go to a realtor, and the realtor, it's like driving around in a car with a realtor.
The portal are, I mean, the agent's paying for it at the end of the day.
Yeah, the agents pay, yeah.
But they are basically branding you, the agent, as the absolute bee's knees in one particular location.
And they've had enormous take up. In fact, I was talking to Simon Bray, who's the CEO of REW, about it, and they're based in Vancouver, Canada. And he said they did one for a new development where what happens is the developer says, we'll sponsor this, but they have an independent person come, go over the new development and pros and cons and so on. And clearly they're not going to slam it, but they're not going to just solely talk it up.
Yeah.
It's a balanced view. So when someone's looking at buying in a new development, and we're not talking about 5 houses, we're talking about 500 apartments or whatever. What happens is that they released that a week ago, and in 1 week they had 6 million impressions where it was delivered, and something like 500,000 views of the actual episode. So that's an enormous take-up, and that's operating as an influencer, right?
Yeah.
Rather than thinking about a straight advertising model. They're not telling you to buy, they're saying, here's some pros, here's some cons, and if you trust me, and I say, yeah, you might actually like this development, this area to live in, and so on.
All right, I'm going to go back to AI for a minute. I like playing the skeptic and the bad cop. I'm going to push back a little bit about this, like AI being the new big paradigm and competitive landscape shifter, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of take your point. Obviously, AI is not going away. Obviously, it's dead useful and all the rest of it. I just kind of think for now it's an enabler. I think this,
yes.
We're talking about it. The people in this room are kind of like the cutting edge, and what we're doing here is kind of shaping a narrative that it will be this all-encompassing, all-changing thing.
Yep.
I think we might be just early on it. It seems like, to me, it seems like human beings still, and I'm going to go against what you were saying in your presentation, I think human beings love searching for real estate. Maybe a few young ones don't, but I think human beings love searching for real estate. I also think human beings hate speaking to machines. The whole uncanny valley thing, I read up on that, and you read one book and you're convinced, right? Are we too early talking about this stuff?
So there is a fine line between cutting edge and bleeding edge. Okay, is the way to think about it. So we may be too far, we may not be far enough. My thought around that is that AI is something that we're starting to see in all parts of what we do. Some of it we know, some of it we don't know. Our interactions with our phones, maybe, we don't always know who we're talking to at the other end. But we also don't know if they're interpreting or listening to what we're talking to and providing some analysis on it. Clearly, AI will be used in the background a lot.
Yeah, and it's nice to actually see. Sorry to interrupt. It's actually nice to see because from our outsider perspective, we only had, we hear about the AI updates that they make press releases about. We don't hear about the internal use stuff, which we have been hearing about from people on stage, and that's been really nice actually.
From sales efficiency to customer service to image enhancement to better listing presentation and so on. So all that stuff is absolutely going to be done. That train has left the station and is absolutely going madly down the track. The question is then, do the way we engage with the portal change? Now clearly, nothing's changed for 20 years. If you go back and look at an REA or a Rightmove or a Scout 24 20 years ago, they're saying, tell me the suburb you want to look in.
Yeah, your slide that you had of how they looked then and now.
If you go and you can go back to the Wayback Machine and have a look at Rightmove in 2009, 2008, and it's pretty much the same. Okay, but we are progressively interacting with other things differently. Okay, how many times do you actually talk to your phone? Hey Siri, ... Right? It's happening more and more. Okay, you just, because I know I do it. I know a lot of people who talk to their phone. How often do you use voice to text dictation? You've just done an interview with Drew from REA India. You record it, it transcribes it, it summarizes it on the spot.
In less than 5 minutes.
Right, you're using it, so it's now becoming part of your life in what you do. It's not a massive leap from that to then I start engaging with a AI tool to search for a property to rent or to search for an investment property or a property to buy. Now, I will agree with you, if I'm looking for a property to buy, it's my first property, I'm spending $500,000, I'm taking a loan for 80% of that, and I am absolutely crapping myself in this process, I'm not going to go, I just give me a property and it's all sweet. But if I'm a student going to Paris and I've got to go to study for 6 months or a year, and I just need an apartment that's costing me €2,000 a month, ... and I need to live, here's the school, I need somewhere to live, just tell me what's there.
Yep.
I don't want to go through the search process, the interaction, has it been rented, it's not rented, there's a
point
issues.
taken. And with investors as well, which is another presentation that we heard. Actually, for investors, what they want is tell me what I should invest in.
Yeah. So I think it's a use case scenario.
Okay.
And I think at one end, when you're doing something that's materially important to you, you will search, research, research, and keep going until you're going, okay, I'm comfortable now, because it's all about getting yourself comfortable. That spending that $500,000 is something that you can digest, because it's a massive jump. But if you're going to spend $2,000 a month to rent your apartment in Paris, and you're only renting for 8 months because that's your university time, and I know because my daughter's doing that, for example, in Paris at the moment, it took us 6 weeks to help her find an apartment. I don't want to spend 6 weeks looking for an apartment that she's going to be at for 8 months. But the search process was so clunky.
Convoluted.
Well, convoluted because you have to have a mixture between what's on the market, what dates is it available, what's the criteria that I need to have to get the apartment, because not everyone is sitting there with exactly the same, I'm French with a French driver number and so on. You're clearly coming from another part of the world and different type bank statements or whatever you need to provide. But if AI can just smooth all that and just say, I need this, and there's a list of 5 that you click on one, it's a done deal.
All right, fair enough. Last question from me. We've got a few presentations left this afternoon. We're at lunch on day 2. Sounds like a cricket presenter. Who are you looking forward to?
Actually, I'm looking forward to hearing from the domain guy next, for sure. I'm interviewing Michael Kenner from Fuzzwaz/.property coming up, which is really interesting because we've talked about portals going to transactions. He's doing it, and he's going to talk about what's working, what's not working in that process.
Yeah, he'll be good. He's always honest, actually.
Yeah, and then
we like honesty.
There's some good stuff coming up after that. I think Mike from Urban Analytics in Australia will
I'm
be
looking forward to his, yeah.
will be not urban.com.au, not Urban Analytics. There's another company. Will be very interesting. So I think there's a lot coming up, and if you're listening to this and you didn't come to the conference, when we do one towards the back end of the year in Europe, it's going to be triple the size. It's going to be probably at 10-20% more.
Yeah,
presenters
I've had a lot of
and
people
topics.
already asking if they can come and speak, and asking when. There's a lot of buzz already. Harvey, who are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing you, Ed. You're on stage
what
this
a guy.
afternoon. Sander,
What a guy.
Well, clearly I'm not. I might have. Wait, I guess we have an idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Just before we go, we have been hard at work lining up some guests for the podcast series. I might have accidentally dropped a name or two to people last night. Stay tuned. Keep listening. There are some very, very good guests hopefully coming up very soon. And when we know, you'll know.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support and keep building this. And hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yep. Okay. Until next time.
Ta-ra.